Hey, look, another thing that's actually pretty current. Though, no, I guess I'm not so far behind that this will take forever to go up. So yeah, by the time people see this, this will probably either be a little bit more readily available or will still be something that's kind of a pain in the ass to track down. But as you can clearly see, I have Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus. This one I got from Big Bad Toy Store. I just pre-ordered it, and the pre-order came in, and I got it. I think I've seen this guy pop up for sale on a few other places, though I think it's still kind of waiting to be released in a couple of spots too, so it's kind of, I don't know, maybe you'll get lucky. But point is, Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus, this is a whole thing. Now I know that some people were disappointed that this does not do the core robot that turns into like a small Optimus Prime that then gets the armor. I understand that. I used to own the G1 toy. I loved that whole thing, but the absence of that with this guy doesn't bother me at all for a couple of reasons. One, we are spoiled for choice when it comes to Ultra Magnuses if you go outside of the official stuff. Like, New Age has an excellent Legends scale Ultra Magnus that does the Prime with armor thing. There are, I think Magic Square did one that does something similar, though I hear it's not great. And we also got the Siege/Kingdom or Earthrise, whatever it was, Ultra Magnus that, you know, it's not perfect, but it does the core robot with the armor. So I feel like this is okay. I mean, if you really think about it, you know, in as far as like not official, but like G1 representations of Ultra Magnus, I'm not talking about like RID and stuff like that, but like G1 representations of Ultra Magnus, we got like the original toy, which did the armor thing, but then the actual character didn't do the armor thing in the show. And then we got, what was it, Combiner Wars or Thrilling 30 or whatever, where he did like the whole truck and trailer turns into the robot. Though we did get like a tiny little like legend scale core robot, but not the same thing. I understand that. And then the Siege/Kingdom version, and then this. So it's kind of like the official releases have kind of been alternating between core robot with armor, everything's there, core robot with armor, everything's there. So I think, you know, I think people are maybe blowing it a little out of proportion, getting mad about the whole no core robot thing here. But I do understand the disappointment, especially in regards to getting like a nice big Commander class Ultra Magnus. But again, Studio Series 86 is really supposed to evoke the cartoon, and he didn't have that core robot in the cartoon, so I think the decision here makes sense. And with all that said, I actually have plenty of Ultra Magnuses that do the robot with the armor thing, and so I was actually really excited to get a G1 referential version that doesn't do that. Oh, and the Masterpiece. Yes, there's the Masterpiece that doesn't have the core robot. Can't forget that. But yeah, I think this is great. There's someone on Discord was asking if I would, you know, recommend getting this or Armada Optimus Prime instead. Which, incidentally, I do have Armada Optimus Prime. I'm going to be doing a video of him in within the next few videos. There will be a video of Armada Optimus Prime, but yeah, since they're both Commander class figures, same price point, it's kind of like, which one do you recommend? My recommendation would basically be whichever one you find for yourself more drawn to, because Armada Optimus Prime is great and fun and just a pleasure to mess with, but I could kind of say the same thing about this. It's just a matter of what you're looking for and, you know, which character you're more interested in. Since I didn't do the Unicron trilogy thing, I don't have that nostalgia for Armada Prime. I have the nostalgia for Ultra Magnus, especially like a G1 referential Ultra Magnus, but at the same time, that nostalgia doesn't really mean much when the toy is great on its own. Either way, so take your pick. Anyway, I have gone on for like 5 minutes and haven't even started talking about the alt mode, so let's do that. As you can see here, he is the Optimus Prime style white flat cab with the blue, red, and white trailer designed to, carry other vehicles. And it looks really, really cool, except for the guns that are tacked onto the sides there. I don't like these guns for very specific reasons. I don't dislike them either. I just wish they were different. Like, I don't like that the only real storage option you get is plugging them in here. And it's really annoying because they have these little tabs on the side that look like they could tab into the sides here, but they don't. They're just too thick. Also, there are other things about these guns that I really want to rant about, but I will talk about that when we get to the robot mode. I just wish they had better storage. In addition to the guns, he also comes with a whole lot of blast effects, which again, we will look at more when we get to robot mode, but these are the ones he comes with. It's, I think Skylinks came with these too, and I forget who else comes with these, like Omega Supreme, I think. They're the multi-stacked ones, but like the slightly puffier ones, so like they're not the ones that came with Scorponok or Jetfire or Skyfire or whatever. But yeah, we'll see those more when we get to robot mode as well. Now, vehicle. Again, it looks great. There's a lot of really nice detailing. I am supporting the cab when picking it up because this does have a tendency to pop off. I mean, I think it's engineered that way. You can see there's the connector up there, and it's not exactly like a hard clip thing, and it just snaps into here, and this will factor into the transformation. Obviously, like, slide it back for robot mode, slide it forward for truck mode, but it can come off if you want it to. Problem is, it'll also come off when you don't want it to, so there's something with the transformation that I would recommend, which we'll get into when we get into the transformation. But because of that connector, you can rotate the cab so you can get a bit of a turn on it when it rolls. Because of what's going on back here, you can't turn the cab any further than this, which is fine. It just, it is a little bit limited. And yeah, there's just a lot of nice molded detail all throughout this thing. He's got the big old doors in the back. He's got some nice color breakup on the inside, but I do like how it's mostly red up in here, considering how this thing transforms. That's actually really clever. And the way you've got this kind of blue color separation along the side is really nice. One thing that sucks, though, for mine at least, is this section here does not tab in. It's supposed to tab into this piece here, and it'll go in, but then it immediately pops back out. And I don't think there's anything I'm doing wrong that's making it do that. It's doing that, and it's annoying, and I don't like it. But the this side stays tapped in, so whatever. And it's not something that you really notice, so it's fine. It's just slightly annoying. But yeah, you've got the Autobot logo. The missile launchers can store up there, as you'd expect. They can't do the mounting on the front here thing. It's just not designed to do that, but whatever. And yeah, flat nose truck cab, some decent paint on the... let's turn up that light a little bit. Some decent paint on the front with the red bumper and the silver for the grille and the headlights and all that. Clear plastic windows because screw everybody, I guess. It's just, why? It just, all it does is show either hollowness or junk. It's so unnecessary. But hey, they painted the rims. There is that. And yeah, that's almost all I can say about this truck mode. However, there is something, and this is, for what it is, I think it's pretty cool. It can actually do the thing. For all the complaints I could make about some of the ways that they decided to stick to the original toy design, even though this, you know what I mean, toy cartoon design, whatever. He does the original thing where you can fold down these panels to make a little ramp. And let's just grab a random figure that's totally not a teaser for what's coming up. that can like drive in, though this one, Studio Series Hot Rod, does not quite fit through the gap there, but you can still like tuck in here. So we can do that. And additionally, you can unpeg the sections from up here, bring this down. Granted, it only goes down like a click, and it's still not like flush really, but you can bring this down and then drive another car up there. It doesn't quite fit through the gap in this particular case, but you know, you could drive another car up, have this go back up, go back up, there we go, and peg it back into place. So you can do the G1 toy, and I guess by extension, I think maybe he did it in the cartoon, I don't know. But you can do the car carrier thing. You can have cars up top, assuming the wheel wells play, the wheel bases play nice. Cars in the bottom. Close this up, and he can haul cars around in his trailer, and I think that's neat. I guess in a way this also works as an impromptu size comparison with a couple of deluxes, or a deluxe and a Voyager. But yeah, that's how that all works, and I do think it's neat that the truck vehicle trailer mode can do that. Now, doing size comparisons like this is going to be a little tricky, but I'm going to try. We'll see how this goes. Let's bring in Artfire, and Rotor Storm. I guess we'll just do it one at a time. So there he is with Artfire. There he is, Rotor Storm. And then getting Rotor Storm out of the way, there he is with Ova Prime and Samus. And then there is Burnout. And she is another deluxe, so there is how that works. And she, I imagine, could probably, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure she can fit through this gap a little bit better because her car is a lot narrower. Is that the gun that's hanging up on there? There we go. Yeah, okay. So Burnout can fit through. It's just that Hot Rod and Sideswiper just a teensy bit too wide. So anyway, there is all that. And before we bring out the size comparison everyone wants to see, let's do one more, or try to do one more. Here he is with Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus, by extension the Kingdom and more or less Siege Ultra Magnus mold. I mean, the Siege mold, the cab sits a little further back in the trailer, but that's how it measures up to that specific mold. And yes, I did get repro labels for this guy, as I said I would. But I know what you're all here for. So there you go. There is Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus with the duck tank. Now, before we get into the transformation, if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you would like to support it monetarily, I do have a Patreon. It's a I only have one tier. It's $1 a month, and that gets you early access to new videos, so you can check out videos, a couple of days early. Or if you want to not do the subscription thing, there's also a Ko-fi that I've got set up. Both of those are linked in the description. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, you can always do the typical like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. So with all that out of the way, let us transform Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus. So, first thing to do. This is something I had to figure out on my own because, yeah, as you saw, this cab comes separated. It comes away from the trailer way too easily, and it just takes a little bit of pressure downwards like that for it to come right off. So that will happen as you're transforming this thing. So what you do, very simple, you just slide this back, and then well, actually, we'll leave the wheels out for now, but slide this back, because with this slid back, it makes it a lot harder for this to just pop off. We will need to move this again to access something else later, but this makes a huge difference when it comes to not having this fall off during transformation. So yeah, that is the very first thing you want to do when you transform this thing. Now, to do the rest of it, I'm going to separate these bits here. They just tab in to what are obviously the forearms, just untab those, and then we can rotate these sections up a little bit. You don't have to come up all the way, just to get them up and out of the way. Now, the lower body does some really cool stuff. It's kind of what you'd expect, but it still goes a little bit above and beyond in some places. Want to untab or at least move these panels around, and this triangular bit folds in, and this folds in, and this will tab in here, and that will get this panel out of the way. And same on the other side. There's that. These red panels untab from just above the hip, and they fold in on a double hinge. You want to make sure that they're all the way forward on the lower part of the hinge before you bring them down, because that will help these tabs line up with the little grooves on the sides here. So pop that up, shift the lower hinge forward, and then bring that down. There we go. Now, before we bring these pieces, rotate them back, you want to get these out of the way. So these actually slide back and then rotate down. And I think that's pretty cool. I like how the you can rotate them up, but then by sliding them forward, it both lines things up and locks them in place so that they can't fold back down. It's a nice thing for stability. So now with those out of the way, we can rotate this section back, and that will kind of settle in place, semi-lock in place, and also there is this tab here that can peg into this little spot on the inside of the flap here. It's not a super solid connection, but it really doesn't need to be. But you can do that. I'm going to do the same thing here. Tap that in. There we go. And then for the wheels, these are, it doesn't feel like they lock in, but they kind of do. You basically want to tilt them down a little bit and then push them up and then push them back in. It's a very subtle movement, but it gets the wheels off the ground, so you don't have to worry about him roller skating around. But I do kind of wish that this was a little bit more profound in the way that it works. But anyway, just do that. Then we can split the legs, and they just tab together right here. There's the little tab. There's the space where it tabs into. And now I find you can unpeg the butt flap, and you can kind of pull from here, but I find the easiest way to do it is to just move one of the hips back, and that'll pop it out. And you don't have to do anything special with this, it just, you want to untab it, so do that. And now to adjust the leg height, you want to bend the knee back and then pull forward, because it actually, the below the knee tabs in down here. So you want to push this forward until that kind of clicks into place, and that gives you the full height and knee. So you can kind of see collapsed for vehicle mode, out for robot mode. And again, same thing on this side, just pop that out, shift that forward, and pop that into place. And that is the lower body, all taken care of. Now we can do this stuff. So for the arms, you want to untab them. They tab in together up here, and also up here. And then these will just swing around. And I kind of want to do, normally I would say, save the torso for last because head reveal, but I kind of want to do it now because otherwise I just think it'll shore things up. So I want to take this piece, fold it in, and it's on a double hinge here, and this will fold in, and this will tab in down here, and that gives him his telltale pelvis design. Now, want to, and this is a weird order of operations, but you really need to do it this way. you want to take this piece up here and rotate it around 180 degrees. And once you rotate this in place, then you want to move this piece down here, which will make like his midsection. And the reason you want to do this first is because you can see this rotates over where that piece will be. So you kind of want to get it out of the way first. So get that done. Then we want to slide this back up temporarily because this allows you to come in from behind and just push this little piece forward, and then you can pull it down. You can see this will not rotate with that in place. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And now with that done, we can collapse this back down. And now this will stay where it is. You can fold in the wheels, like so. And then you can work on the cab. And the cab does some interesting stuff as well. It all is really interesting. So I want to pop open these bits on the side here, which is a little tricky, as they peg in really well, but there's not a good place to get your fingernail to pop them open. And I'm hesitant to try too hard to pick at them because this is painted plastic. I think? Yeah, maybe it's not painted plastic. Oh no, okay. The clear windows are actually a separate piece. I never realized that. I thought this was all painted. Okay, so I don't have to worry about scraping the plastic by trying to dig this out. That's good. Anyway, fold these flaps out. And this will unpeg from here because it does not peg in super well in the front. But this unpegs. Rotate this around to about here. Because at this angle, it gives you the space you need to rotate these front wheels in, like so. Then we can rotate this the rest of the way around. The front windshield folds in, and then this whole thing folds all the way around. And now these panels will fold back, and that will kind of, it doesn't really lock this in place, but it will tuck out of the way. Now this is, I need to bring this up even more. Now, this roof section comes out. It's on a double hinge here, so bring that out, keep it extended, fold these out as well. And now this panel here untabs kind of from these pieces here. And also the head, there's like a, it's hard to see, but there's a couple of little tabs in there. Like, you can just barely see tab there, they kind of tab around the helmet in the front of Magnus's face, and that keeps the head from moving around. So you can, it's not a secure tab, it's more like a resting place, but still, that's where that sits. But anyway, you flip this up, and you want to flip this through this cavity here, bring it all the way around, and that will sit against the back. Now, take the smokestacks and rotate those in like that. You want to wait to do the smokestacks until after you move that panel. And now all of this comes down, and the head can kind of come forward. This comes down, and this will tab in right here. That'll kind of lock that in place. And now this comes down, and something tabs in somewhere. Basically, this comes down and it will kind of clip settle into place, and these will sit just on the other side of this piece. We'll bring those up a little bit, bring this down, like so. Then the chest piece comes all the way down, and these will tab in to this piece here. That'll both keep that from wiggling around and also fill in that gap that was there. Now, let's do the arms. So, the arms. This is an involved transformation, I know. So, want to shorten them by popping open this panel on the bottom, and then double hinging this up, and then closing this back up. That takes care of that. Now, this panel here that was on the outside for the car carrier mode, you want to fold that in. It's just there to fill in that gap. And now these bits here, you want to pop those out. And on one side, they are cooperative. On another side, they're very stiff. And it makes this step a little bit tricky. So I'll just bring the spudger back in, and there we go. Move that out. Because those will lock this in place. As you can see, there's little tabs on top of the tab in there. So with those done, we can swing this around, and this is really clever how this settles into here and actually cover. Oh, wait, no, don't want to do that. First, want to take this panel and rotate that around to the outside. Otherwise, that's not going to work. So now we can swing this up, and that will fill that in, close up, and just is generally awesome. You can take this piece and just unplug it from here and plug it in here. This is the bottom of that panel that was facing forward before. And then we can rotate this around and peg this into place. And then this whole thing will fold back and accordion. But before we do that, we want to take this piece here and pull that out. So pull this out. That is a little tricky because this tabs in there very securely. But do that, and then this will fold in and kind of click in. It doesn't sit as flush with the body as I'd like, but it works. And now this folds in, and this will peg in here in a couple of places. And then this folds around, and this will peg in here, but it's not like it just rests. It's not like a super solid peg. That's what this is for. This comes down and tabs over that tab, and that locks the whole assembly together. And we can rotate the arm down, and there we've got one arm done. Second arm, same deal. Gonna do it slightly in a different order. So fold that around, unpeg this, and then peg this in here. Gonna flip this around and rotate this up now. And you can see this side is a lot better with these bits. Rotate this in and peg it in. Pop this out if I can. Yeah, it's very, like, some things on this guy peg together a little too solidly for my liking. But anyway, swing that around. Swing that in, peg that together, swing that in, bring this down, peg that in. There we go. And then want to make sure to fold in that panel, undo these bits, and then swing this whole thing around. And here you can get a slightly better look at how this will slide around this. It's a really clever way that they did that. I like that. And that just goes in like so. And then the this panel opens up, accordions back, and closes back up. And lastly, we can raise the head up into its proper position. And there we have Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus. I'm just adjusting these little things so that they're a little bit more straight. And yeah, it's an involved transformation, but it's actually pretty cool and interesting the way that it's done. I like this guy a lot. He is a little unwieldy, especially if you don't know all of the particulars. I went at this thing without looking at any videos, so it was a little bit like the first time I got him out of the box. I had not watched any videos beforehand, and I didn't look at the instructions. I just wanted to mess around with them and see if I could figure it out. And I did figure it out, but there's a lot to this. It's a lot of little bits, especially around like the midsection and waist. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. But yeah, I mean, this is very akin to the Masterpiece from what I've seen. And I kind of always wanted to get the Masterpiece, but never really did because of the price. But this is very cool. I have some gripes, but it is very cool. Now, as you can see, he is quite clean too for how he comes together, and they did do a good job of like painting certain things to look cohesive in each of the modes. Like the fact that this back section has some bits that are in red plastic or painted red, or this bit painted silver, specifically just so that it makes his back look right. Because this is on the underside of the truck. They didn't have to paint that, but they did. Same deal with the backs of the legs. They painted these blue so that it looks more cohesive with the rest of the leg, and like on the inside of the leg too. That's kind of wild, because this whole chunk is red plastic, but they painted this blue so that the whole like leg design goes all the way around. That is, again, pretty wild. And yeah, it's a cool Magnus. He looks good. He's got some good heft to him. He does the thing with the limbs, which we'll show in a bit. And I don't know, he's neat. He's simplistic. He's fairly like low textured compared to a lot of other figures, but you know, this is Studio Series 86, so he's supposed to be more smooth because cartoon. But he does have some nice molded detail in a few places that does add just a little bit, like on the insides of the legs, a little bit extra around like the feet, some nice detailing in the thighs, and like in the chest and stuff. You can actually see through the clear translucent red windows, you can see there is a little matrix in there. And yeah, it's a neat figure that is big and imposing, and also does one thing that I'm kind of... The thing that bugs me a little bit about this guy is the width of the torso. I wish this could have compacted different. I think they did this for the sake of like getting everything out of the way and keeping him clean all the way around. But I feel like they could have engineered something that allowed, rather than a triple fold, just a double fold to bring these shoulders in just a little bit. I think that would have made a big difference with regards to his silhouette. Because like, if we pop this out temporarily so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, if we bring this out and just, you know, don't look at how far back the arm is, just look at where it sits. If we look at it like this, you've got bulky Magnus with an arm that sits a little bit closer to the torso. I feel like proportionally this works a little bit better. But it doesn't fold that way because of this whole triple hinge thing. That's why I was thinking like if they just did it a little bit differently, like more of this armature would stick back for sure. But I just feel like maybe there was a way to bring it in a little bit so that it wasn't sticking out quite as much. But again, it's not terrible. It's just a thing that I've noticed. Like the proportions on this guy versus other figures is, or other Ultra Magnus figures, I should say, is just a little bit wide in the shoulders. Now, before we talk about the head, we need to talk about the gimmick that I didn't know was on here because, as I said previously, I kind of tried to avoid details on this guy as much as I could, so I didn't watch any videos. I didn't watch like any official videos. I just tried to avoid all that. So this was a bit of a surprise, but this is kind of fun. Normally, I don't really like Matrix gimmicks, and I still feel like maybe this engineering budget could have gone elsewhere, but I can't deny that this does actually make me kind of happy. You can open up the Matrix chamber, which he does have because you can see through the windows there. By pulling up the little blue piece, it pegs in down here. So you unpeg this and bring it up. But as you bring it up, these doors are spring-loaded and automatically pop open, and that it makes me unreasonably happy. It's a thing I didn't know I wanted or needed, but I just love that. You can just unpeg this and then bring it up and just groins open. And inside, there is a lot of really nice mechanical detail that's molded in, and it's also painted really well too. You've got like, these panels are just clear red plastic, and they painted this side red, but then they painted the inside silver. the inside of the chamber is this like gunmetal-y sky blue color with silver accents, which is really neat. The molding looks fantastic. And then you've also got the matrix in there, which I think is upside down. That's probably on me. The matrix does come out. It is a little tricky to get out, but it does come out. Come on, there we go. And yeah, it is the little matrix. Has the clear blue thing in the middle, the coppery color on the outside, the silver handles, and it looks good. It's painted all the way around. Hooray! And there you can see there's also a little bit of extra detail hiding behind the matrix. But yeah, I do think this is cool. Even though I normally despise matrix gimmicks, it is cool. And then you can see there's this tab here that taps in there. That's what closes it up. Though if you wanted to, you could peg it back down and just have them like that. If you want, it's a thing you could do. Anyway, close that back up. I think that is a fun feature. And also, actually, I guess while we're doing features, another feature to talk about is the popping off limb thing, where he's got basically Combiner Wars ports. Down here, you can pull this little piece down, and that allows you to slide the leg off. And it's twisted and morbid, but you can do it. So you can rip his limbs off. This one, for whatever reason, bites me when I try to take it off. As you can see, it just came off the mushroom peg. It didn't actually come out. There's something about the way this one is sitting in there. It does not want to come out. I don't know what's going on. It does move, it just doesn't come out. So I might need to try and pry that out. Oh, wait, is it coming? It's coming! It is coming, okay. It's very, very snug, but there we go. So there is that. And now for the arms. Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry about that. For the arms, they are not quite as simple as the legs. The joint that you have to access to pop them off is actually in here. So you have to detransform it slightly in order to access this piece here and slide that off. But you can slide it off and then flip it back down, and then arm, and pop that up, pull that in, slide it, and bring it back down, and there. Magnus made a fool of himself. Actually, no, we got to do this the right way. So there we go. Magnus got blown up, and the Matrix got taken by Galvatron. There we go. Good job, fearless leader. But it's silly and ridiculous, but I can't help but enjoy it. I also think it's kind of interesting that this is now the second Studio Series 86 figure we've gotten that is designed to come to pieces. That's just amusing to me. To put these back, they just pop back into place, similar to Combiner Wars and Unite Warriors and Power of the Primes, Combiner Limbs. It's just the spring-loaded piece. This slides in. Now, something of note, I don't have, I'm not bringing anything out for comparison, but basically, if you look at this piece here, you can see that the lower bit is much, much more narrow than a typical combiner peg that they've been using for like Power of the Primes, Combiner Wars, and all that. So these are not compatible with Unite Warriors, Power of the Primes, Combiner Wars, all that. It's, on the one hand, it's a little unfortunate, but on the other hand, considering the fact that the connector is inside the limb rather than on the torso, I feel like it's fine, because all that would happen is if this was compatible with that, you'd have like a leg attached to a combiner limb or an arm attached to a combiner limb. It wouldn't be particularly compelling. So that is something to keep in mind. Like, I can understand being a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed at first, but realistically, I don't think it's all that important for for these to work with the older combiner ports. Because, like I said, you just have a limb connected to a limb. It makes some kind of weird reanimator type monster, but I just don't think that warrants being upset about. So now that all the gimmicks are out of the way, we can take a look at that head, and that is G1 Ultra Magnus in plastic form in his head. It looks pretty good. The plastic that they used for the eyes, I don't know, it looks a little dead to me. It does light pipe. You can see it's kind of light piping a little bit here, but it's not great light piping. You really, it's not the kind of light piping where you don't see anything unless the light's literally on top of it, but you do kind of have to take the light into consideration if you're going to actually see any of the light piping. And in that instance, I feel like painting the eyes would have been better, but whatever. The shape is good, the molding is good, as with the rest of the body. There's a little bit of extra details here and there to make it pop a little bit more than just a flat-ish G1 cartoon reference, which I think is cool. Also worth noting, in the box, these antenna bits, they're actually on little, but okay. Apparently those come out as well. But yeah, these are on little pegs. They're little pegs like this. So these actually come separated out of the box. So when you get him, he's not going to have these attached. These come in the little accessory bag along with the blast effects, little shoulder missile launcher things, guns, that kind of thing. So you want to, don't panic if you don't see these right away. And these are actually designed to peg in a certain way. You can see there's like a little divot here. And if you look at this piece, you can see this bit here is closer to the base of the peg versus this one. So they do go in a specific way, and the best way to tell is one of these little angular bits is shorter than the other. You want the longer one facing the front. So that's how you want to orient these. But yeah, you just peg it in, and that gives him his little ear spiky things, and that is that. So, with all of that done, now we can talk about articulation. So the head is on a ball joint. You get a little bit of side to side, some okay up and down. I do think it's cool that there's actually a little divot here that's perfect for his chin to sit in, so he can look down, though he's kind of just looking at his boob shelf. And of course, the head can rotate, and there's also the hinge that is used for the transformation, so he can look way up if you really want him to. The arms go all the way around on a unnecessarily solid ratchet. I don't know why they're that solid, but that's what they did. But then, bafflingly, the outer joint is just this little hinge up here. Like, if you push it in, it kind of clicks in place, so you have to pop it out to get the arm to go out. But, it's just friction, and it goes out to there, and that's great, but the problem is it's friction. And the arm is, there's a lot of plastic in here. And if you include, you can see the arm's already drooping. If you give him one of his guns, this arm in particular just needs more friction. I need to tighten that, but it droops. So that kind of stinks. Beyond that, you get a bicep rotation. And then you get a elbow bend that does go to 90. So it doesn't go past 90, but you do get 90, and I do think it's kind of nice. They actually intentionally carved this little channel into the forearm so that you could bring it up that one extra click, because you could see how it perfectly works right in there. That's, I appreciate them making the effort to do that. That's cool. The fists do rotate. Find a good angle for this. The fists do rotate, which is cool. The fingers also move, but because of everything going on back here, they're a little hard to reach. So you're either going to have to rotate the fist in order to open the fingers, or pop this open down here in order to reach the fingers. So you've got options, but you do have to finagle it a bit to get to those fingers. But you've got the index finger on 2 joints, one at the base and then one at the kind of forward knuckle. And then the remaining 3 fingers also have 2 joints in the same spot, but the 3 fingers are all grouped together. So you can't do individual finger stuff, but you can splay the fingers out a little bit, which is nice. He does not have an ab crunch, which I think is fine, but you do get a waist rotation that can go all the way around. The skirts and stuff can get out of the way, so butt skirt can go back, hip skirt can go out, front skirt can also move out of the way, and then the hips can go forward to there, back to there. It's on a soft ratchet, but you can see it does hold up, so that's good. Can go out to just about 90, so despite the hip skirt not going out all the way, that gets you pretty far out. You get thigh rotation, which is hampered by the molding just kind of crashing into this back here. If you bring the hip out, that doesn't really help. Okay, so yeah, it's this crashing into the strut back there. So outward and inward thigh rotation is a bit on the limited side, but it's enough. Like, he can still get pretty dynamic even with this. So I feel like for his size, that's not bad. And then you get the single jointed knee for the basic bend, and then if you really want to, you can unplug the connector up there to get just a little bit more. Like, it's not much. Like, this is without unplugging it, this is with unplugging it, and that's as much as it's going to bend when you unplug that joint. So you really don't need to use that. And the foot, you do get ankle tilt, but it only goes this far. That is because this all kind of, like, you can see this crashes into this, but then like this also can only go so far. So it's fine. It's a little limited, but it's fine. So he's reasonably posable. Actually, quite posable. It's just the outward motion on the arms that's like the biggest disappointment to me. Now for the accessories, we are coming back. We already talked about the Matrix, but we are coming back to these guns, and the guns look good. He's got his big cannon and his smaller gun that's still pretty big. I like this kind of pearlescent pink paint that they used on these. You intensify the light a little bit here. It's got this like pearlescent pink, pseudo pink, whatever, and it looks good. I do like the paint. It's a nice color. It's nice and metallic. It shows off the molding on the guns really well. It's cool. I like the look of the guns. I like the molding, all of that. What I don't like is the guns are made of clear plastic. You can tell from the little nub at the end and the tabs on the sides that the guns are clear plastic. That in itself, not a huge problem because these are, they're kind of thick. So I don't feel like the guns are going to shatter due to being brittle because they're chunky guns. The thing that bugs me about this is notice the handles. The handles are white. These, I can't tell if these are painted or if these are, there you can kind of see back here, like, I can't tell if that's white paint that's been scraped off a little bit or if it's a little bit of this pearlescent paint. Like, it's hard to tell because the windows for the cab are separate pieces of clear plastic set in white plastic. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that maybe this is just white plastic, like the hands and whatever else that is, but it doesn't match. It's not quite the same in terms of shade and texture. So like I want to assume that this is white plastic, that is set inside clear plastic because there is a clear seam line here. So it's possible. I'm not going to open this up to check, but it's possible. But the problem is this could also be white paint on gun handles. And if that's the case, that sucks. But I guess only time will tell. So far, I haven't noticed any chipping, and I've been pegging these in and out of the hands and in like the weapon storage and vehicle modes, so I guess that means it's okay, but we'll see. Anyway, these can peg into the hands as you do, because he's got the little like circular peg holes in the hands, so you can hold them in his hands, or if you want, they can store around back. The big one has a specifically sized tab that can tab into the butt flap. So you can peg that in, and that will store back there. And the smaller one can peg in here, and you can go either up or down. I kind of like going up because it gives them just this little bit of thing poking off the top, but to clean things up, just peg it in there facing down. So you can store the guns around the back if you don't want him holding them. So there's that. And then we come to the blast effects. So this is not Siege, so he doesn't have the like spots where you can peg stuff in to make it look like he's being shot. Which in a way seems like a missed opportunity given part of his, like one of his gimmicks, something that a good portion of his design budget was devoted to was his arms and legs coming off. But you can't peg the blast effects into the... Yeah. But what you can do, and this is... Okay, now, this is something I also forgot to mention during the articulation. Because of this friction joint, I don't really like rotating the shoulder when it's out like this, because all that tension is being put in this thin little spot here. So every time I rotate the arm, I push this in all the way first, because then you get more of a surface area grip while rotating that joint. I just feel like it's safer. But anyway, you can plug the blast effects onto the tip of the gun. They plug in like so. They also, if you want to, you can use the big one. That is, of course, too big, so it's all droopy, and it just doesn't look great. But you can use it. But the thing that I actually think is really fun about this, and it's mainly, like, I would have ignored the blast effects entirely, but this is actually why I brought them out. The shoulder missiles are actually on little plugs. You can unplug the little red tips. And that's fun because not only can you do that to make it look like he's firing the little shoulder missile, like, you know, just a blast coming out of it, but because of the peg here, you can actually peg the missile into the blast effect and then plug the blast effect into the shoulder thing. So it actually looks like it's firing. And that is really silly, but I absolutely love it. And of course, because of how these things work, you can do like different blast effects. You can stack them up. You could, let's say, if you wanted to, you know, do a bunch of them in different order. You could do, let's do this. So you could do something like that. And it's just, it's fun. It's silly and ridiculous, but I do actually really like that. It's not something I'm ever going to use, not for like display or anything like that, but it's cute. I like it. I just, these blast effects are just going to be sitting in the in storage because I don't intend to use them ever, but I did want to show that off because it's cute and fun, and I like it. All right, let's get him situated for size comparisons because he is a commander class figure, which means he is somewhat on the big side. Maybe not super duper big. He's, I'll try to remember to pop up a photo. He's not as big as Armada Optimus Prime, Legacy Armada Optimus Prime, but he's still big and beefy. So yeah, bringing in size comparisons again. Here he is with the usual suspects. And you can see, commander class. So he is large and temporarily in charge until he gets himself killed. And then put back together. But yeah, there is Studio Series Commander Class Ultra Magnus with usual figures and those little bits, these little bits up here. I don't understand why they couldn't be designed to stop rotating when they're actually in the proper spots. Like the ones that are a little bit stiff, those are okay. Those I can kind of position and I don't have to worry about them falling out of place. But the ones that aren't, it's really easy for them to either get bumped or, droop or whatever, and that's just irritating. Because then it looks like his shoulders are sad. And I don't know, I don't want his shoulders to be sad. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm weird. But anyway, here he is with the, I guess specifically the Kingdom mold, but it's the Kingdom Siege Ultra Magnus mold. It's Shattered Glass, but yeah. Here he is with the previous official Ultra Magnus mold, and it is a huge difference in terms of size and bulk. But like, I think it's kind of a toss-up based on the thing you want. Like, if you want the core robot with the trailer armor, yeah, the vehicle mode's not the best looking, but this is a really solid Magnus. The proportions are really nice, even if he's a little bit on the short side, like with the leg proportions, I mean. And yeah, there are the upgrade kits, but I just, yeah. I still like this guy for what he is. I feel like it's not really a clear-cut decision. It really just depends on what you want. But there is that. And finally, for the most important size comparison, here is Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus with the Duck Tank. And that'll do it for Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus. I keep telling myself, like, oh, I'll do this one because it'll be faster and easier, and then it ends up taking me almost an hour, or in this case, over an hour. Presumably it'll be a little bit less than an hour once I edit it down, but who knows? But yeah, this figure is great. I really like it because I'm into Ultra Magnus figures. And again, I think that spring-loaded Matrix chamber thing is really fun, and that's coming from someone who hates Matrix gimmicks. The articulation is really good, aside from, this nonsense. I really wish that was better. I don't know what else they could have done, but I feel like that joint needed to be a little bit more sturdy and solid. But like, the sculpt is there, the proportions, aside from the shoulders being set a little bit too wide, are really nice. The pop-apart thing is silly and kind of pointless, but I do think it's fun in its own way. And yeah, it's a good figure. The transformation does some really cool stuff. It's really interesting what it does in a lot of ways. It's kind of like a cheaper, more fun version of the official masterpiece. So there is that. But anyway, that is going to do it. Thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, let me know what you think in the comments if you want. I do always enjoy hearing from you all. I think I forgot to mention that in the last video. Oh well, can't go back now. And yeah, next video, I haven't entirely decided what I'm going to record next, but I have a lot of things that I'm considering, so we'll see what it ends up being.